Welcome to this Astro Priestesses Roundtable. We are so excited to bring you the solar month of Aries featuring the spring equinox, in the northern hemisphere, the spring equinox, in the southern hemisphere, the autumnal equinox, opposite season. But a powerful and amazing time. And one of the things that I love about the equinox that I learned in recent years is that in the month of March and into April, something happens with the Earth's magnetic field. And what that is that it's called equinox cracks. And there's cracks in the magnetic field that allow for light from the sun, like when the sun sends out coronal mass ejections, even if it's a small minor one or it's not a big one, there will be much more chance of seeing auroras. And that's just, it's just so cool. And so we can also know that many cultures recognize that because the sun at the equinox is rising due east and setting due west all across the planet, it's an equal day for everybody, no matter how far north you are, no matter how far south you are, equal time, equal day, equal night happening everywhere. And so why it's called equinox. And so then we have these different cultures that recognize that because of the sun rising due east and due west for everybody, that it would reduce the magnetic field of the Earth, which is what happens why we have the equinox crack. So they've now proved this scientifically. And they did some very big high ceremony at that time because it was a time you could access other dimensions more easily. So equinox is important. It's a big deal. It's a big energy. And especially for some reason, it seems like the March equinox has more of the, it's called the McPherson-Farron effect or something like that, that has more of the equinox cracks that happen at that time. So that's super exciting. The other piece that's super exciting about this equinox is we have 5 planets in Aries. We've got an Aries new moon at the zero Aries point, the equinox point, that only happens maybe every 19 years. With the nodes are in the same sign, so it's part of this nodal cycle that connects to the moon. So 18 and a half years for the nodes to come back to a certain position, and then 19 years for the moon to come back to a certain position. So the last time this happened, we had a new moon at the equinox was in 2004. And the next time it'll happen, well, it won't be at the 0 point, it'll be at the 1 degree point, will be in 2043. And then it'll be let me just see if I wrote down the exact date, 2053, when it happens again at the 0 point. So this is a rare moment in time for us to tune into. And if we think of the new moon as a seed point, what are the intentions we're seeding? The equinox, a seasonal point, what are the intentions we are seeding? This is a high ceremonial, high energetic time. So I'm gonna just leave it here and let somebody else pick up and speak a little bit more into all the Aries energy and all the other amazing things that are happening around this equinox.
I feel really energized already, just feeling this, of course, with Jupiter and Chiron, and we've already been working with a lot of Aries energy, which, of course, the sun is going to go over all of those points and really show us what needs to be illuminated about these things. And I especially love it when the sun is hanging out with the bridge planets or Chiron, because these are longer term influences, but the sun really brings a lot of light and illumination to work that we've already been doing. And so in that way, it feels really, I think, cathartic. And it's almost like we can release if there's something that needs to be released a little bit more easily. And I feel that the energy of Aries is so bold and it's so playful. And I do notice there's a deeper connection with the inner child that tends to come through with sun in Aries. And especially thinking that the sun is exalted in Aries, it's a very fun place for the sun to be. So really tuning into where are we starting something brand new. Some might consider this to be the beginning of the hero's or the heroine's journey, kind of where we receive the call for the next part of our cycle or the next leg of our creative journey. And there's something here around really calling in the bold heat of our passion and our inner strength. And I pulled a couple cards just for the energy of this season. And so the overall energy, this is the way I pulled it. I pulled 3 cards. This was the overall energy. So part 1, strength. Okay, so this card really speaks for itself. And I feel that so much of it, and what I've been tuning into in the field, and after Pisces season, I feel like we're all hopefully a little bit more connected with our psychic abilities, but just that empathy, like everybody feels like they're working on confidence. And also, there's something around, especially with that recent Saturn move into Pisces, it's almost like we get to do a lot of healing, and our nervous system is relaxing a little bit. Even though there's still, interesting things going on in the world, it does feel like there's like a sigh of relief in a way, which is just, I'm noticing it. I'm just watching it and seeing what happens, but it feels like it's connected to that strength. Like something in our heart is wanting to feel like I'm safe to express. Like if I'm blocking myself from communicating or speaking, it's because I don't feel one with humanity. Like I'm going to somehow be rejected from humanity because I'm afraid. But I almost feel like I'm noticing people are just speaking up a little bit more. And it, to me, that speaks of safety. It's like, oh, I'm a human. I belong here. I'm part of this group. Even if I disagree, I still love you. I still love humanity. And so there's just a huge, beautiful confidence in the heart coming back. And then the advice for this month, the way I pulled it, was the moon and Wheel of Fortune. So we need that strength. We need that confidence to go through these times of, the moon usually signals major changes, sometimes death of things. And we're going to talk about the Pluto and Aquarius later. So like the death of an old system that, or the slow and painful death. But using our intuition to tap into that. And of course, we're going to talk about the moon and Wheel of Fortune. Really noting that at any time your fate can change, at any time the wheel of destiny can turn, and you are the agent in part of that change. So I feel like the Aries energy is saying, like, be an individual, be fully here, be fully present, be fully confident in yourself, and be your own agent of that change. Channel your enthusiasm.
Yeah, and also is because we have had a Mars in Gemini for a long time, and in this spring equinox is squaring the new moon, and it's still in Gemini, so it's kind of like preparing to go into Cancer. So we have had so many ideas. Mars have been squaring Neptune 3 times, and so much like that, those psychic abilities that sometimes are very hard to grasp and to say which one of all these options, of this infinite potential, is mine to bring into the world. And for Aries, that the compass is the passion, and whatever brings you passion and you feel energized when you say yes to something, I would say that is a very good key for everyone to know what is it that is emerging within you that brings you that joy, that assertive energy of saying, I have the right to desire something and I have a mission. And sometimes it's like our purpose is to be who we are, but we also have missions to do. And Aries, if it doesn't do anything, it gets stagnant, and then it's can be aggressive. I think Aries is aggressive when it's not fully expressed, as Nura was saying, with confidence. It's just that confidence of saying, this is what I bring into the world. And I'm happy to do it. And then it's very spontaneous and it goes for wherever it desires, but it's answering this new moon squaring Mars. Mars is still a little bit like, okay, so many options. I can go there, I can go here. And Gemini is amazing because it's very curious about options, but it's not the most solid sign to make a decision, right? Like to say, let's go for this. And Aries is much more like laser point because it doesn't really think that much. It's just wherever you have into the guts that is telling you where to go. And March 25th, that is after the spring equinox, and Jamie is going to talk more about the equinox, but it's moving into Cancer. And then I will say that the key is to connect also with the feelings. So that energy that we are initiating with the Aries is more from the guts and from the passion. And then when Mars moves into Cancer, March 25th, then is which option has more emotional, it feels home as well. Like which one is yours to gestate, to bring into the world. So you are the mother of this project. And if it doesn't happen, it's okay. Not every idea in Gemini can go through into Cancer, I say. So like in Gemini, we are just like seeing all the possibilities, and then we decide which one is ours and which one feel like is our home. And also for the Mars, I will say that it's very important to connect with the dates that is being retrograde since August. It entered retrograde since October 2022, and in Gemini since August 2022. So we have been really going back and forth many times in whatever area we have Gemini, and we are going to feel the movement in this area, I think. So it's important with all these options to make a decision and go for it, and not going halfway. That is also something about Aries. You don't go halfway. A tiger cannot say, okay, I'm going to hunt halfway, right? And then the prey is gone. And Aries is the hunter of the zodiac in a way, right? So if you go for something, you go with your full power. And if you make a mistake, it's okay, but you go for it.
Oh, I love all this. And I'm like feeling the Aries excitement as everyone is sharing. I love this, you know, and Mars, just to kind of share off of what you were sharing about with Mars, you know, with this equinox near the end of Gemini, just clearing that post-retrograde shadow. I feel like with this Aries equinox, this Aries new moon, like at 0 degrees of Aries in the equinox portal, and Mars, like perhaps the temple keeper of the wisdom keeper of the Aries mysteries, and many senses just cleared that post-retrograde shadow over this last week in Gemini. This Mars retrograde, you know, Gemini bringing new perspective, seeing new ways we can take conscious inspired action out in the world. And I feel like with Mars there, just clearing that post retrograde shadow, it's like there's something here for me about new perspective, like this Aries new moon and this Aries equinox. There's like this really amplified wave of new energy, new moon in the equinox portal. This is like new moon, new fresh energy, really amplified here. And it's like, if we can really allow ourselves to embrace this new perspective, this new way of seeing reality, I mean, I just feel it's like there's infinite possibilities available for us here. And Mars is still out of bounds at the time of the equinox, which is, you know, Caitlin, I love as you share it, when a planet is out of bounds, it operates like outside of, you know, like normal reality here. So again, it's like, there's all this possibility here to really embrace a new way of being. And with Aries, Nura, I think you spoke to it. It's that like instinctual energy. It's like I'm connected with spirit. Aries being like where we come out of that Pisces ocean of oneness. And we just have this really, to me, like a high vibrational Aries is we have this like really pure channel with spirit, and we're just instinctually responding. We don't have that filter or that inhibition that comes in and says, wait, no, this won't work, that won't work. It's just like we're instinctually responding to that flow of life, the flow of life force energy. Aries is like this uninterrupted flow of life force energy, where there's like the world is at my fingertips, you know, like Aries just coming out of that Pisces ocean of oneness, Pisces where we're dreaming into that higher dream, that higher vision, right? That higher inspiration. And then Aries is like, yeah, this is how I make it happen. And so there's all this energy to like kind of just go for it. And we've been, like Mara, you spoke about that retrograde. We've been this really long, you know, recalibration, reorientation time. Mars has been in Gemini for a long time. I think like since August of last year, I could be wrong, something like that. And so, you know, like Mars went out of retrograde in January, but I know for myself, and it seems like most people I've been working with, we didn't really feel that burst of energy. And, you know, when Mars went out of retrograde, because Mars was still kind of like, getting, you know, kind of recalibrating to this like new Mars cycle. And now at the end of the retrograde, the post-retrograde shadow, getting ready to go in a new sign. It's like we can finally take that conscious inspired action forward. So I think it's a really exciting energy. Something else that I think is notable with the equinox and the new moon, I'm looking at the chart right now, Saturn is at 1 degree of Pisces. And this is where we had the Pisces new moon like a month ago, you know, a month ago. And to me, that Pisces energy this is where we connect to that higher dream. And then Aries, we just like, hey, we're gonna just go with it, and we're gonna start birthing it. We're gonna bring it through. I don't really even know what I'm creating, but I'm just going with the inspiration. And so I feel like we've been doing all this dreaming energy, and now that Saturn's there, it's like, okay, let's build off of what we've been, this higher dream, this higher vision of how we envision the world to be. And Saturn's there wanting us to build it. And then this Aries new moon and the equinox, it's like, let's just go for it. And I think the invitation is, how much can we let ourselves just go with the energy? Because Chiron, you know, we've had all this Chiron activation in Aries, the Venus Chiron conjunction, the Jupiter Chiron conjunction, Vesta has been there, there's been so much. You know, Chiron in Aries is helping us heal the I am, you know, our self-identity, our self-concept. And there's been all this shedding of old identities. And I feel like it's like after all this kind of shedding of identity, we're getting more of a sense of who we are, like this magical spiritual being in this physical body. You know, it's like after shedding so much, it's like if we don't have the old stories to inhibit us, there really is like the sky is the limit. You know, there's infinite possibilities here. And also one other thing with the new moon, the equinox, Venus is at 4 degrees of Taurus, which is conjunct the North lunar node. And so to me, this is a really beautiful energy, right? The North node is like the evolutionary flow of energy forward. It wants to like bring the flow of energy in that direction. So North node in Taurus, this is really building and creating something beautiful, right? We've all been with the North node in Taurus, recalibrating our values. We've been exploring values. I mean, there's been so much. How can we live a life of, Kaylin, you say it really beautifully. I can't remember exactly, but this like life of, you know, pleasure and delight. We're rebuilding this new earth together. And I feel like the North node in Taurus has really been activating those of us. And I think most people watching probably also feel this sense, like building, creating this new earth, this new way of being where we're in right relationship with the earth, with all beings, including our beautiful animal beings, our plant beings, our, you know, people beings, human beings, where we're in right relationship with all beings. And Taurus being the sign of fertility, you know. So with Venus there, you know, she is very much connected to the Taurus mysteries. And I feel like there's something really abundant, they're really fertile, that's wanting to be birthed. This is at 4 degrees, you know, 4 numerology is about building stability and structure. And I see just Venus with the North node bringing in something beautiful, a blessing. It could be wanting to build more, create more beauty in your life. And it's really with Venus and Taurus, and it's the beauty way. It's the beauty that comes from the inside out. It's our way of being, our way of presencing the moment? Can we really meet the moment grounded and embodied? And it's like, when we meet life that way, we just, beauty grows. It's this beautiful energy here. So it could look what house, you know, one, you want to look at what house Aries is, you know, 0 degrees of Aries in your astrology chart, but also Taurus, you know, where is this? Because I see a blessing, you know, it could be relationship, it could be finances, resources, it could be just something really beautiful wanting to come to life. And one other thing, I think I've been talking forever, I'm so sorry, but with the equinox, go out and watch the sunrise and the sunset. Find where it is on your local horizon. It is such an activation, especially in the northern hemisphere. The sunrise is really powerful for the Aries equinox. Southern hemisphere, the sunset, because you're in your fall equinox, but you get an activation within your body. That sunlight, that solar light activates your body, and it's really powerful to go like connect with the sun and the connection of the sun and earth on these powerful portals.
Oh my gosh, what you shared is just so brilliant. Thank you. And just a couple of things. One, I love that you brought up the out of bounds Mars, Jamie, because Mars has been in Gemini, which is already kind of a crazy wild card factor. And then it's out of bounds until early May. I think it's May 5th when it comes back inside the boundaries of the sun, back inside the boundaries of ordinary reality. So it's been a super wild card factor since October. It was when it went out of bounds. And it's just like, whoa. So of course we've had this wild and crazy time. And the other thing I appreciate is going out and watching the sun rise and set, because the sun is the fuel, it is the energy, it is the reason we have life and light on this planet, and it has a transmission for us. So if we can, even if you can't be out at sunrise or sunset, go out in the middle of the day, tune into the sun, it has a transmission for you, coming from the equinox point, from that balance point of day and night. And then I just love what everybody said about Aries and how it loves to just act without thinking. Some would say it's leap before you look. And the thing is you don't really need to know, you just need to trust. And that's the biggest thing I think that the Aries energy is about. So that kind of leads us then into the next thing that we want to talk about, the next really big thing happening in this solar month. And that is the move of Pluto into Aquarius. For the first time, the last time it did this was in, let's see, it was April 4th of 1777. And then it was in Aquarius until April 11th of 1797. So no one alive has experienced what Pluto in Aquarius means. But what we can look at is what we understand about Pluto and what we understand about Aquarius, and look at some possibilities. Now, the thing is that Pluto, it will only be in Aquarius for a few months, and then it'll retrograde back into Capricorn, and then it won't really make its full entrance where it's not leaving until January of 2024. But we're going to get a taste. We're going to get a sense of what this is about. And if we look at what's happened with Pluto and Capricorn, it's been the demolishing of all of our structures, our government structure, our educational structure, our medical structure, our economic structure. When Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008, we were having the bank collapses, and we just had another one that happened within the last week. So that may not be complete yet. Some of that is still, some of that demolition is still going on, because we need to take down the old so that we can put in the new, and especially that's a very much a Capricorn kind of thing. So in Aquarius, what in the world? It's like Aquarius is very much about the expanded vision, cosmic perspective, how we see things from a more revolutionary point of view, like what needs to change. Aquarius will definitely be bringing revolutionary energy into these old, what the old structures have been. So how can we build new ones that will really be sustainable and supportive going forward? Because it seems like we're still more in the dissolution than in the rebuilding phase of that. And Aquarius is also the grand experimenter. It's like it wants to, we could imagine that all of the technological advances we've had in the past that have disrupted the way we knew reality to be will be accelerating. We're going to have, I don't know, AI, artificial intelligence is probably already there. It's just going to be coming out more fully. And then how do we want to engage with that? And does it allow for greater freedom? Because that's what Aquarius is mostly interested in. So also it's going to shift the assemblage point of how we perceive our reality. And it needs shifting because it's been kind of stuck in an old way of perceiving and has been sort of a certain way for a long, long time. So what's going to be the new perception, the new way of seeing things? Okay, so with that, I will turn it over to whoever's next.
I just have some things coming up around that, Pluto being where the power is or how we're engaging with power. And so right now it feels like we've witnessed, especially over the past few years, a lot of power kind of trying to be centralized in some way, in different ways, and it being the power in the hands of the structure, like the government. But Aquarius is the people. So power to the people, like power is shifting hands and it's shifting into the hands of the many. And this is where I feel like that's the macro story. And then you are here as an individual, boldly expressing yourself. It feels like, the fortune favors the bold. Feels like it's a very strong piece of wisdom right now, like boldly trying things and experimenting. And of course, Aquarius is the scientist, but it feels like experimenting with a whole, like you mentioned, Jamie, the whole new identity, but it feels so profound. Like what I've been observing with people, it's like reconnecting with the innocence, almost like primordial innocence. So much forgiveness potential and how much that could allow you to connect so much with your innocence that you're not, fettered, like you're not blocking yourself, you're not limiting yourself. I think there's something with Pluto that always reminds me of, seize the day, like you're here living this one precious life. It's kind of heavy, it's like people die, like we don't live forever. So what are you afraid of? Like, why aren't you just doing the best that you can every day, trying to live a small life or stay inside this box? And that's why I feel like it's Pluto and Aquarius is really going to bring out that radical energy in people, inviting everyone to just show up and fully live. That's why I'm so passionate about helping people reconnect with themselves, because it's not just about, when we reconnect with ourselves as individuals, it's not just about us. It's not selfish, right? Because sometimes we have that fear, some of the Aries wounding might be like selfishness, or it's all about me. And we collectively have done a very good job of shaming that to the detriment of individual self-expression. So it's like reclaiming that, like, yes, you are important and what you want to do does matter. So that feels like a really big piece of how we'll get to work with that this month, and especially considering Aries and Aquarius are sextile signs. So there's a lot of this external relationship wanting to happen. Lots of opportunity.
For me, with Aquarius, it's always very interesting because it's a sign that it goes like very radically into different ways, like humanity and very ideal possibilities, consciousness and cosmic energy. But then at the same time, like with Pluto, there are many chances that we will see the shadow of Aquarius as well, that can be detachment from the body. So it's very important to be aware also of the possibilities that can go not wrong, but like in Aquarius, like Saturn in Aquarius, we have felt a lot of isolation and loss of human contact. Aquarius is not the most warm sign in the zodiac. So it's also be very aware of these possibilities. Like we're still human beings with a body. So with Aquarius, sometimes like being fully incarnated can be difficult. So I will say that it is very important also with this intelligent artificial intelligence that is like, I don't think we do have an option anymore. It's part of our reality, and it's going to be more and more. So how do we do it in a way that we are still connected with the earth, connected with our hearts, Leo? So we still need the Leo part, and then we need the Taurus part, that is the body, and then we need the Scorpio, we need the depth, that Pluto is the ruler. So I feel, because with Aquarius, I always observe this, and it comes to me like the two waves of the sign as well. So I always see that we can go into like Terminator, and we just destroy humanity, or we can build a utopia. Like we can go into like use technology to be more conscious, to use agriculture in a more conscious way, to live in communities, to not to have like borders between countries. Like there are no borders really, they are totally artificial. So and connect with the cosmos and connect with other beings from the galactic beings, but without forgetting that we still have a body that goes a lot slower than Aquarius. Aquarius, like when we want to bring down all that energy, the body needs normally a lot of time to integrate. And this is something that happens a lot with people with the moon in Aquarius. That's something that they need to learn, is to be fully human, to be fully here, incarnated. So I think it's very important, especially when Uranus move into Gemini, that I don't know the date, but when we have in the future, when we have Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, that's going to be a lot of air that we need to balance out with the earth and the water and the rest, because we have the 4 elements still. So yeah, it's like, how do we do it in a way that is sustainable for the future? And it's not just the idea can be amazing, but how can we make it into the 3D reality is going to be like a very important conversation, I think, for humanity. In like, how many operations and surgeries can I have that I'm still human? And when do I become a robot? Is part of the conversation in these 20 years in the future. So it's like, what decisions are we making? What it means to be human is something that I think each one of us needs to ask themselves, because each person will have maybe a different answer. But yeah, like, and to be also very rebellious in that sense. We can see more the system, if it's controlling, like more power to the people to say, this is my body and I decide what I do with my body. So we can see that a lot as well. But I feel it's very important to see also the shadow of Aquarius in that sense.
Oh, so good. And Mars will be going in and out of Gemini in 2025 and 2026. It will go into Gemini 2025, retrograde back into Taurus, and then go back into Gemini in 2026. And I love everything that everyone's bringing through on Pluto going into Aquarius. And I think, just kind of going off of this, what you were sharing, Mar, that I absolutely agree. It's so important that we're looking at kind of the different timelines and the different kind of expressions of Pluto and Aquarius, because with the Aquarius energy, sometimes we can see it can kind of go one or two ways, or two different spectrums, two different timelines. To me, Aquarius, the highest vibration of Aquarius embraces the, wildly authentic individuality of each person, and how really embracing and valuing the individuality of each person benefits the collective, right? When every single person has the freedom, Aquarius is about freedom. When every person has the freedom to be in their full, wildly authentic expression, to follow what lights them up, to nurture and cultivate their gifts and what they're interested in. It's like, wow, if every person had the spaciousness and the opportunity to do that, we would have, and like, there would be no problems in the world because we would have more than enough like inventiveness and new ideas. Some of the problem in our current world is people are not given the opportunity to really nurture and cultivate what lights them up and their gifts. This is something we start in childhood. And so with Aquarius, it's like how the individual benefits the collective. And so with the Aquarian energy, one timeline can sometimes be trying to push everyone into like a group think or a hive mind, everyone being the same. There, it could kind of be some of this like unity consciousness kind of thing, which is, to me, like, that expression of it is not the most beneficial and thriving and flourishing expression of the Aquarian energy. And then the other octave or timeline of the Aquarian energy is embracing the individual and how the uniqueness of the individual, right? The free to be me, how that benefits the entire collective. So I think we'll see with Pluto, right, being about power and empowerment, I think we'll see some of this kind of push-pull, which timeline are we going into in that direction? And I absolutely agree with you, Mar, on the technology, right? We'll be exploring like the power of technology. One, we have all of this, and a few of you beautiful sisters spoke about this. We've been having, so much AI already, and we're really going to see a lot more pushing forward and rolling forward with a lot of like AI that's been working they've been working on it but not released it yet. And so we'll kind of be exploring with this. And Uranus is in Taurus right now. One of the things is like the organic technology of our bodies, of our natural innate body wisdom. And we'll be exploring that, like, how can we maintain the sovereignty and the freedom of our organic technology of our bodies. And then we'll also be exploring, will be this push-pull energy of technology and AI used to try to control, that the old system's still trying to have that top down, but then we'll see this power moving into the people, which I think is very exciting. And then how can we utilize really amazing, like, cutting edge technology to support organic life, right? Our bodies, to support the earth and the regeneration of the earth, because there's all this technology that we could have available to do amazing things in the world. And we'll see all sorts of beautiful, I think, healing modalities like sound healing and frequency healing and light healing, all of these really cool technologies, coming forward on a new level. So there's it's exciting. It's an exciting topic to talk about.
Yeah, so exciting. And just to say it, it's been touched on, but Pluto brings the shadow to light, so it can be transmuted and transformed. And so what is the shadow of AI or the different things that we've been talking about? And being able to be our own unique expression rather than having to be like the hive mind that you mentioned, Jamie. It's so good. And then we have to let go of the old, or we have to transmute and transform the old in order for the new to come through. So that's a big piece of what this whole thing is all about. And so I just love what everybody has said. And I love this idea of, the intent of Pluto is always to bring empowerment, but first it has to expose everything in the way of it. So it's not always easy. In fact, it's often challenging. So that's our opportunity, and we're going to have a taste of it, as Pluto will be in Aquarius until June 11th, when it retrogrades back into Capricorn. And then again in January of 2024, it'll go back into Aquarius, where it'll be for 20 years. So we'll have lots of time to work on this. So until we meet again, thank you everyone so much for being a part of this and for sharing this with us. We just love having this opportunity to share with you what we're seeing. And we look forward to being able to do that again for the Taurus Solar Month.